Hey guys, welcome to the Shermichael Singleton Show. I'm your host, Shermichael Singleton, and today we're talking about something that affects every single American, and I'm almost certain it's something that you guys have thought a whole lot about. And that's trust in the media, or rather the lack of it. And how did the press really go from being like this watchdog of power to the mouthpiece of political agendas? Like they were supposed to be watching powerful people and putting a spotlight on powerful people in corruption. And now they have seemed to become a part of the power and a part of the corruption itself with a certain political agenda that leans to the left. How did they get Trump so wrong, the election so wrong, and why did they refuse to even admit it? I mean, man, talk about arrogance. Well, we're going to break it all down. No spin, no censorship, just the facts. So let's get right into it. The press at its best is a safeguard of liberty. At its worst, it's an instrument of manipulation. The Fourth Estate was once revered as the guardian of truth, a noble endeavor dedicated to the rigorous pursuit of facts and the exposure of power's excesses, and that's a good thing. And yet, in our present time, we see that the very institution designed to inform and enlighten has devolved into something altogether different. The days of Walter Cronkite are over. The media has become a mechanism of control, a force of ideological distortion, a peddler of narrative rather than a seeker of truth. In recent years, nothing has so thoroughly exposed the decay of the mainstream media's credibility than its handling of President Trump. And you guys know I'm not lying about that. I mean, they can't stand Trump. Not only did the press fail in its duty to inform the public, it failed with intent, with hubris, and with contempt and disregard for the intelligence of those it claimed to serve. The media did not merely get it wrong, it got it wrong spectacularly, willfully, and without shame. They didn't care that they got it wrong because they said that you just weren't smart enough. It was never simply a matter of bias. The press's failure was epistemological, a failure to grasp reality as it was, rather than as they wished it to be. To them, Trump was an aberration, an unthinkable disruption to the progressive march of history. They did not merely dislike him, they did not merely dislike you. They found him and you, and anyone who supported Trump, and their existence to be intolerable. And so they constructed a reality in which he could not win, in which he did not have the support that he actually had, whether it was among younger voters or Hispanics or a certain sector of black men. To them, it could not occur, and Trump could not be allowed to return. That's why they crowned Kamala Harris as the next president. Well, that was a disaster, and Trump ultimately did return. And what is more telling than their eras is their lack of introspection. Having been humiliated in 2016, they learned nothing. The press didn't pause to reflect. They didn't reconsider their methods, their assumptions. Why didn't they? Why didn't they? Why were they so detached from the electorate? They didn't care. No, they didn't care at all. Again, they didn't reconsider their methods, their assumptions, their detachment from reality. No. They told you constantly you were wrong, and they doubled down on their positions. They insisted that they had been right all along, and the reality itself of Donald Trump possibly winning again could not occur. And yet it did. And now that he's back, every single thing we've seen, all the press, print, digital, on cable news, has all been negative. The press's hostility towards Trump and Republicans was not merely political, it is existential. Trump, you see, is a rebuke of their authority. He's a disruption of the carefully crafted illusions that the media would have you believe. But truth is not simply about what is said. It's also about what is being suppressed. Consider how the Hunter Biden story was suppressed, how that was even handled by the media. Here was a scandal of international corruption, a legitimate news item of profound interest for everybody. There's the president's son involved in some really shady things, and yet it was silenced. It was dismissed and erased from public discourse, not because it was false, but because it was inconvenient. And when the media went on to say that this is just conspiracy theories coming from Trump and Republicans, we found out that they were lying, and they knew they were lying, but they tried to hide it. And so we arrive at our present condition, a media establishment that demands trust but has done nothing to earn it. They insist they are the arbiters of truth, and yet they manipulate and deceive. They lecture us on democracy while silencing voices they do not like. They claim to stand against misinformation, yet they have been the greatest purveyors of it. It's like you're watching your television. This is the media, this is the TV, but they only show you what's in the circle. Everything else they hide because they are not the greatest purveyors of truth. But the public, it seems, has finally caught up and learned the press refuses to acknowledge that the media's authority is not self evident. It must be earned. Trust must be earned. We're not just going to give it to you on a silver platter, but that's the way the media expects it to be delivered. And having betrayed that trust too many times, they now find themselves adrift without credibility, without influence, without the power they once wielded. The days of Walter Cronkite are gone, and they don't seem to know what to do about it. But that, I think, is a good thing. Trust in the media is at an all-time low. According to this recent Gallup poll, only 31% of the American people have trust in the media. And I got to be honest, I'm not surprised. There's a reason the mainstream media's ratings are at an all-time low. There's a reason people don't trust journalists, particularly if you're a conservative. And you know what I'm talking about. Because you know, like I know, most of them are partisan. If you're a conservative, you know most of the journalists are partisan. And the reality is, most of them are likely Democrats. So the idea of being objective to many of these guys, it's elusive. And so that lack of trust is not just a passing trend, it is a reckoning. The American people are waking up every single day. They have seen the bias, they see the manipulation, and they are choosing alternative sources of information, whether that's independent journalists, alternative media platforms like X, and citizens reporting like on Substack or YouTube are on the rise because people are starving for the truth. They want the truth, not the prepackaged narratives designed to push a certain agenda that we see oftentimes coming from legacy media. This is why legacy media is collapsing. It's why newspapers are shutting down across the country. It's why cable news viewership is in a free fall. No one wants to watch the lies anymore. And it's why trust in journalism is at an historic low. When you spend years gaslighting the public, calling them conspiracy theorists for questioning the status quo, calling them ignorant, and outright suppressing stories that don't fit your ideological goals, you can't be trusted. And don't be surprised when people walk away from you. You've lost all credibility. And here's the reality. The media doesn't control the conversation anymore. And let me tell you a secret. They don't like that. The American people do. And that's what terrifies the hell out of them. So the question is, what happens next? Well, that depends on us. If we continue to challenge the mainstream narratives, demand accountability, and refuse to accept selective outrage and ideological spin as news, then we can shift the balance of power away from these traditional institutions that have abused their influence for far too long. The press was meant to serve the people, not become an arm of the Democratic Party and the liberal elite. And I think it's time they remember that. So keep going to those alternative sources. Keep looking for media that you can trust and voices that you can trust. And keep showing the media why they have gotten it so wrong and continue to get it wrong and will continue to get it wrong for years to come unless they stop and pause for a minute and figure out why in the hell people are rejecting them. Enough with the hubris, enough with the arrogance. No one gives a damn about your fancy degrees. No one gives a damn about your New York Times bestsellers or your Pulitzer Prize winnings. People want the objective truth. And until you and the media learn that, your ratings are going to continue to go down and no one's going to trust you. And this is probably only the beginning. I got a feeling in a couple of years, if you continue on this path, a lot of these mainstream media outlets that we know of will not exist in the next decade or so. And to tell you the truth, that might actually not be a bad thing. Well, that does it for today's show. We've broken down the facts, we've cut through the spin and asked the tough questions. But the mainstream media still won't accept reality. But the conversation doesn't stop here. Stay informed, stay engaged, and never be afraid to challenge the mainstream narrative. And as always, I appreciate you for tuning in. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. If you liked what you heard, like this particular video, and just keep coming back, because we have more to come. And remember, truth isn't about what's popular, it's about what's real. I'm Shermichael Singleton. Take care, and until next time, God bless.